everyone, and welcome to Stitchy's World. My name is Caitlin, and today I will just be doing a regular podcast episode and sharing with you some of the things that I am knitting and crocheting and have finished. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. We barely started, but here I am. So let's start with some things that I finished. So the first thing that I finished was a Valentine gift for my boyfriend, and it is Jack Joris. So Jack Joris is like an alien kind of creature. He is in the likeness both of, well no, basically he's just in the likeness of an alien, but I named him Jack Joris because the pattern actually is named Joris, but I thought since my boyfriend's name is Jack, I would combine Jack Norris and Joris to make Jack Joris, and that's what I did. So this is Jack Joris, and he actually has the same piercings and tattoos as my actual boyfriend. This is not my boyfriend. And yeah, he's pretty cool. He likes to sit. He can just sit and hang out. Whoop! He can just sit and hang out. You know what? He can sit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the pattern. It was a paid-for pattern, and it was not standardized. So if you're not used to reading patterns that are like super conventional, then this might be a little bit of a challenge. It was for me, but I had fair warning because there were a lot of project notes with people's tips and tricks to how to read the pattern properly. Basically, everything was laid out and explained, except the way that repeats were written. It would be like step 1, and step 1 might have 3 different rows in it. Step 2 might just be 1 row. Step 3 might have 10 repeats of something. And then the other thing that was a little bit different and I hadn't seen before was the way that repeats within a row were written. Instead of brackets, they used an asterisk. So aside from that, it was a really easy knit. It took a lot longer than I expected, and he's knit in one piece. Or you connect as you go, I should say. It's not exactly one piece because obviously there's like different parts. You start up here with your cones. He has 6 points on his head, and then you pick up along the previous one to make his interesting shaped head. What's really cool about him actually is all of the shaping involved. I have a tendency, especially because that wasn't one of the cats knocked the tripod. I apologize. I moved some furniture in here, so they're going nuts. Mojo. So what's really interesting about this pattern is there's so many there's so much shaping in it, which I really appreciate. I have always been more interested in patterns that have a little bit more attention to detail, and I feel like this was definitely a lot of detail. So I have a tendency to overstuff my projects, and I think that comes from crochet, where when you're doing a really tight fabric with crochet, you can stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. This I had to be careful because I actually had to back off a little bit as I went with the legs and the arms. At first he was like super strong, like he had really big, what do you call that, pecs and biceps, but it was looking a little odd. And there's short rows shaping in the elbows and in the knees, and his butt looks like this, if you were wondering. And yeah, so that's Jack Joris. I definitely recommend the pattern. There's no errors per se. Like I said, you just need to be a little bit cautious about following the directions, and the formatting is a little bit funky. That's something that some people mention having trouble with, where you're going along in a column and then all of a sudden you need to jump columns, but something else got like orphaned from the rest of that formatting. So some people did things out of order. So anyway, Jack Joris. He can sit up here. If a cat doesn't knock him off, we'll be lucky. So unfortunately / fortunately, I don't have any other finished objects to show you in person, but I will put them on the screen. I promise I will this time. So the first one I want to share is my dragon. And this was something that I made for my niece for Valentine's Day. I made a little Valentine dragon with a little pouch with some candies in it, and I mailed it to her. So this dragon was from a book that I had purchased through a Humble Bundle. If you're not familiar with Humble Bundle, usually they sell software, but sometimes they make deals with publishers, and it's to benefit charity. So you make a donation to a charity, and in return you receive either software or books or whatever. So I got a bunch of Amigurumi books, and this was one of them from, I forget exactly the book, but I'll probably put it in this on the screen somewhere. And I loved this dragon. Making him was really fun, except I will say there was a lot of sewing together, and I have a really high tolerance for sewing because I feel like a lot of times that's when the project starts to come together, and I love to see that. But this had like a lot of pieces. Everything seemed to be separate. So like you would make his head, obviously his body, but then his haunches were separate and his feet were separate, and then he had spikes, and then he had more spikes down his tail, and his tail was separate. So there were a couple times where I felt like it might have made the pattern a little bit more advanced, possibly, to write that into the pattern, but I kind of wished that there was a little bit more continuity and things were just made like contiguously, because I feel like you could have done the neck down to the tail all in one piece. But don't ask me how, because I'm not a designer. I wouldn't know how to do that. Anyway, I really, really liked him, and I made him with a little Valentine pouch with a little heart. And oh, I can show you something from that project. These were kind of like cast-offs, whatever. Hang on one second. Like I said, I think I have a picture, but these were the colors that I used. They were super bright, and actually they match my outfit today. And this was a combination written pattern and video tutorial to make these little heart granny squares. You end up making two together, and then like a eyelet row for your, or round, I guess, for your crocheted strings to go through, and a little ruffle at the top, if you will. The reason these were cast-offs and they weren't used in the final project was I decided, for the most part, I prefer a dark background with a light foreground, and I don't know why. Like, I'm not a color theory person. I don't exactly know why it is that to me it looks better, but when I looked at this, I just see a purple blob, and I really see the green and orange. But I feel like if I had done a purple background, I would really see the green or the orange on top of it. And obviously this is the same situation. I just got farther along on this one before I gave up and did a different color scheme. That's what I worked on during the Super Bowl. Now the memories are coming back to me. And actually, that's not the only pouch. I actually made two other pouches, and one I sent to my mom and dad, filled with some candy as a little Valentine. And then I made another one for a dear friend with a little froggy to go with it. And I think I have a picture of the froggy too, so I'll put that on the screen if I can find it. And that was, I called him Derpy Frog, and he was from a Susan B. Anderson String Along Toys booklet. Yes. And he was so adorable. I really liked him. So that was Valentine's. Got that all done. Okay. Now moving right along, we're up to St. Patrick's Day, which is actually today. But I finished the project last night and mailed it off today at lunch. So I don't have the physical project to show you, but I made the elf leprechaun doll. I think she was called Elf Leprechaun. She wasn't just a leprechaun, but she was also a crocheted project, and I probably worked on her for about a week using up yarn that I had. So far, I've done really good, not to toot my own horn, at using up some of the yarn that I have in my stash, which makes me so happy. I know it's not a competition and not everyone is like trying to use up their stash, and that's fine, but I'm really happy that I have been, so yay me. Anyway, so this Leprechaun doll was so sweet. She had some things that I had never done before. First of all, her hair. She's got some wild bangs, and I think that is one of the reasons that I really vibed with her, because I also have wild bangs, and I made her a ginger just like me. Even though it wasn't for me or for somebody who has red hair, I thought that was okay because it's a leprechaun. So her hair was actually made in 3 layers, and basically you're chaining and then single crocheting back up the chain. And I feel like I finally reached a point where I can crochet into the back of a foundation chain and not get all wobbly about it, because when you're doing that, it's sometimes fiddly and you'd want to just like, I'll just go into one of the loops instead. I don't know if the cat's gonna jump across behind me. What was I saying? So the hair looks really cool. Basically you're doing these chains, and then you pick up along a front loop of a previous round, and you do some more chains, and then you do it again and you do some more chains. So it's actually quite a lot of hair, and I thought it came out really cool. The other thing that I really liked about this pattern was not the ruffles. The ruffles almost did me in. We were watching Only Murders in the Building, and I was trying to get my ruffles done, because there's ruffles around the collar, around the wrists, around the top of the shorts, around the bottom of the shorts. It just seemed like everything had ruffles, which is fine, but sometimes when you've finished crocheting something, it's just hard to maneuver around, like to do a surface thing on it, and I was so done with it by the time I finished. But luckily I did finish, and I was so happy with the result. This was the first time I ever did this. I put a little rouge on her cheeks, like with the makeup brush. So that was really cute, and yeah, I thought she came out great. I ended up mailing her with a couple of goodies, so my niece will be getting some fun mail in a couple of days. My sister-in-law told me the sweetest thing. So my niece just turned 6, and they set some leprechaun traps, I guess. That's a thing people do now. And she was so disappointed that she didn't catch a leprechaun. I'm guessing that the leprechaun left some candy or toys or something, I'm not sure, but they didn't catch the leprechaun. She's getting a leprechaun after all. And this leprechaun is bringing some treats inside of it too. I wrapped up a couple of little things, like a little ring pop and some gummy Jolly Ranchers and a Kinder Egg and a lip smacker that looks like a little unicorn. So cute. Yeah, so there you have, what's it called? St. Patrick's Day. So that brings us up to speed. Now I'm going to show you 2 things that I've had on the needles, and I think I might be able to carve some time to work on them, but we'll see. So the first one is my Dark Academia. Isn't this a cute little bag? So the Dark Academia is what kind of looks like a cathedral, and it's 2 colors, color work with 2 colors. Okay, good, my end stayed on. So it's a circular yoke, thank you. It's a top-down circular yoke color work sweater, and it's got these like huge cathedral windows, and I love it. This is Murky Depths yarn that I'm using. It stuck to me. Let me put it, I'm gonna put it away. I don't want it to get tangled, and there's cats everywhere, so. There's not really, I only have 2 cats, but they are everywhere. Yeah, so this is the yarn. I bought this at Vogue Knitting Live in New York. Oh, sounds so fancy, but it was just a train ride away from me, so why not? And it's Murky Depths Deep Sock. Both of them. Both of them are deep sock. And this is, what is it? Withered. Ooh, dog. That one's Withered, and this one is Deep Forest. I would call this one Blue, Gray, Purple, and I would call this one Almost Black. And they look really good together. And I watched a couple of videos on knitting with 2 colors, and what I learned was you don't have to catch your floats. They tell you to if they're long floats, like you should catch them so stuff doesn't snag on them, but I decided to just never catch a float again. So far, I think it's going well. The first round, sorry, I'm talking to the floor. The first round was the only one where I was like, oh, I should have caught my floats because it's super long. But like, look at the back of it. That's actually pretty cool looking, right? And let me tell you, it makes a huge difference to not be twisting and twisting and twisting my yarn and then having to untwist the balls of yarn, because nobody likes doing that, I don't think. I don't think that's something people like. Yeah, I really like this. It's something that takes my full concentration, so it has to be, yeah, I have to have like at least a half an hour and it needs to be semi like focused time for me. But I feel like it exercises my brain in a way that other knitting and crochet doesn't, because I don't know if this is like, okay, I'm gonna give you some pop science. Hopefully this is true. But I've heard of like brain gym stuff where you use the left side of your body and the right side of your body. Like, can you draw a circle and a triangle in the other hand? Or like a square and a triangle. I don't think you need to see me try to do that, but try it at home. Like, it takes a lot of concentration and focus, and I can't do that and focus on talking. So, but regardless, it's supposed to be very healthy for your brain because it's a cross hemisphere kind of task. And I feel like when you're doing colorwork knitting with 2 colors, 2 hands, it's a similar thing going on. And I feel like it's just like knitting my brain together a little bit. And I don't know. What do you think about that? Am I crazy, or is that like science? I think it's science. Ah! Oh dear. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to share is a knit along that I'm doing with my cousin, and it's the Only Murders in the Building knit along. So far, I am not knitting along. A couple things happened. First, I got some lovely yarn from my mom that I could use for this project. Now, these are 2 different colors. I don't know if it's going to show up very differently in the screen, but they are. So this project calls for 400 yards of 4 different colors. And the 4th color is considered your contrasting color. So you have colors 1, 2, 3, and then a contrasting color. And only the contrasting color has to contrast with the other colors. So basically, it's easier to just show you. I have colors 1, 2, 3, and then my contrasting color. And I love these colors together. I think they're fabulous. But I started knitting with them, and the first part of the knit along, and I'm not gonna like give away too much, but I'm about to say the first part of the knit along, it's these cityscapes. I was cruising along, and I love the yarn together, like I said, but it wasn't very contrasty. And I started to panic a little bit. Like, what if my colors don't pop enough? And like, I'm doing all this work and you're not going to even really see the contrast. So then I thought, what about hot pink? And I ended up not with hot pink, but more of a magenta. No, that's not it. Yes. Oh yeah, it's a little bit deeper. I would call this magenta. This is Friend Sockwool from Hobie, which I did not realize Hobie is in Denmark. So basically, like, the knit along's already underway. I'm really excited to get going. And then I have to order more yarn because I wanted a real contrast. And I do believe this is a contrast. So I order the yarn, and then it takes a week and a half because, yes, it's across the world, and that's fine. I just didn't realize when I placed the order. So I had to wait. Anyway, I finally got my yarn and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get step 1 done, which is the cityscape. And dun da da dum, I don't know if I like it. I don't even know what this yarn is doing in there. Does that happen to you? Do you just find random yarn like stuffed in your project bags? So this is the edge. This is like the cityscape. See these are buildings. Does it not look like a candy cane? I keep seeing candy cane. And I don't want candy canes. Then the other color is like kind of toning it down, but I only got like 2 rows into the next color, which you pick up along the edge of this one. So I just don't know if I should proceed or if this is really too candy caney. Maybe I need to just like relax a little bit and just enjoy it. And if it comes out the way I like, then great. If not, then oh wow, it's just yarn, but I want to really love it. I have 1 more in progress. So basically I only have 3 progress pieces right now, which is really good for me. And this last one is a crochet project. I have to climb under the desk, so give me a second. I'm actually making a bride and groom for a friend at work. Her son is getting married, so this is the bride's head. And I'm gonna do the colors that of the bride's flowers. I'm gonna make those the color that she is gonna be carrying in her wedding. And the little personalized touch that I'm gonna do, and I have to figure out how, is this is a couple that the man loves the Yankees and the woman loves the Mets. So we thought it would be really cute to have, well, my friend thought it would be really cute, and I agree, to have like either a little Yankees hat and Mets hat or like a little logo on the back or something. So I have to figure out how to do that. I think a hat might be a cute thing because then like you could put it on or take it off of them. Yeah, so it's Yankees and Mets, and my embroidery skills are okay. So I'm open to the idea of like maybe getting a little patch to sew onto a hat. So I have to figure out, like, I have to do a little bit more exploring, but I'm hoping that, let's see, today's Monday, I should be able to finish the actual dolls by the end of the week, so then we can like brainstorm together, my friend and I, to decide how we want to, like if the back is even big enough to have a logo on the back of it or what. And I think I will put pellets in the bottom of these because I feel like they're gonna need to stand up. I offered to make like a little arch because I saw there's actually a free pattern that has a little arch where you can sew them in or glue them in or however you want to attach them. But she didn't want the arch so much, so I think pellets is probably our next best thing. I personally use lentils, but I'm not gonna put like food stuff in a project that I'm giving to someone because like mice will eat lentils if they find them. So you gotta be careful about what you're using for stuffing. And is that it? I'm looking around like for something else that's gonna pop out. I think that's it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know what you're working on. I love to hear what other people are working on. If you have any projects that are giving you trouble, like with colors and stuff, because I can totally relate to that. Let me know if you like knitting for the holidays. I love making little crochet amigurumi for any different little holidays. I know I'm late on getting this video out for this holiday, St. Patrick's Day, but maybe it will inspire somebody for next year. I think that's it for today, so thank you for stopping by. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel so you can get more inspiration. And I guess that's all for now, so I'll see you next time.